this is Capt.S.S.Chaudhari. I'll be speaking about solar eclipses and lunar eclipses today. We will try to see what are the conditions necessary for these eclipses to occur. We are not going to talk about mythological beliefs about the solar and lunar eclipses. We are going to purely talk about the scientific phenomenon called eclipse. So we are going to talk about different types of solar eclipses, different types of lunar eclipses. Now, what is the main condition that is necessary for any eclipse to occur? Eclipse is a phenomenon of light and shadow. So naturally, when we are talking about the source of light and we are talking about the screen and the object in between, we are assuming that the eclipse will occur when these three objects are in one line. Let us look at, say, lunar eclipse. Here is the sun. The earth over here. Sizes are of course not in proportion. These are the rays traveling what we find is behind the earth, the shadow that is cast in this portion of the cone or the shadow cone. No light from sun can reach. So this portion of the cone is called umbra, and the outer cone in which the inner cone is nested, this outer cone gets some light of the sun, and that's why it is not totally dark. We call it penumbra. When we consider the movement of moon in its orbit, when moon passes through the umbral cone, we get total eclipse. When moon at least is partially in the umbral cone, we get partial eclipse. And while the moon is in penumbral region, what we get is penumbral eclipse. The penumbral eclipses are difficult to see. Actually, with the best of telescopes also, you cannot make out the penumbral eclipse. So it is more of academic interest. So we are left with partial eclipse and total eclipse. It is said that 1/3 of the eclipses of moon which occur are penumbral one, 1/3 are the partial eclipses, and the rest 1/3 are total eclipse. Looking at the lunar eclipse from yet another angle, suppose this is celestial sphere, and this is equinoctial, and this is ecliptic. In the plane of ecliptic, the sun and earth must always be there. SHs of sun and moon 180 degrees apart, or elongation of moon 180 degrees, is a condition for full moon. If one more condition is fulfilled, that is, the declinations are precisely equal in magnitude and opposite in name, then there is a possibility that these three are in one line. So this is one way of looking at the conditions of lunar eclipse. SHs 180 degrees out, declinations opposite in name but same in magnitude, the distances permitting the eclipse to occur. But we can also say this way, that any full moon can be a lunar eclipse provided the moon is there in the ecliptic limits. What happens is the moon's orbit is 5¼ degrees inclined to ecliptic. Now ecliptic is the home for sun and earth. If moon also has to be party to the eclipse, moon has to come close to ecliptic, and moon will be close to ecliptic if moon is close to the nodal points at the time of full moon. So these are the conditions for lunar eclipse to occur. Now let's talk about the solar eclipse. So what happens on the solar eclipse? On the solar eclipse, the shadow of moon falls on the earth. Let us see what happens because of that. Say this is the sun. This is the line, reference line we are talking about for an eclipse to occur. Here is the moon. And on the other side, once again, we have penumbral cone and the umbral cone. This is umbral cone, this is penumbral cone. As the moon travels on its orbit, the shadow cast by the moon, that is the penumbral and umbral shadow that is cast on the earth, travels on the earth. So if the umbral cone passes over a certain region, passes over a certain area, people in those areas will witness what is called solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse. And when the penumbral shadow travels over a certain region on earth, people in those regions will witness what is called partial eclipse. So we have total solar eclipse cast by the shadow, that is umbral shadow, and partial solar eclipse, which is because of the penumbral shadow. People should be warned that when they are looking at the sun in a partial eclipse, it is dangerous. They can lose the eyesight, because although the sun is not that intense to look at, but it is not totally obscured. It is not totally obscured, so the rays of sun are still coming and they can damage your retina. So total eclipse, what happens is the disk of moon, it totally covers the sun, and you see a bright sun is actually obscured. One of the most awe-inspiring astronomical, celestial, natural phenomenon one can witness only once or twice in his lifetime. So solar eclipse, you watch, but watch with caution. So when I say that the solar eclipse is caused by the umbral shadow which travels on the earth, it is possible that this umbral shadow does not reach the earth, and that is what will give rise to annular eclipse. Of course, it depends on the distance of moon from the earth. Moon to earth distance is 221,000 miles in perigee and 252 in apogee. So the variation is about 13%. So it is possible that moon appears so big that it obscures the sun completely, and it also can happen that moon appears in the center of the sun and you see a bright sun outside and moon inside. So this is called annular eclipse. Once again, annular eclipse is also very dangerous to look at. If we consider the solar eclipse condition in yet another perspective, so here is the celestial sphere, this is equinoctial, this is ecliptic. On ecliptic, here is the earth, here is the sun, and here is the moon. So the condition for new moon is the SHAs are same. The SHA of sun and SHA of moon is same. But for a solar eclipse to occur on that day, the additional condition which is necessary, the declination are same in magnitude, same in name. So on a new moon day, when the elongation is 0 or when SHAs are similar for sun and moon, if it so happens that ecliptic, which is the house for sun and earth, which is the plane of sun and earth, which is the plane made of sun and earth, on this plane or somewhere close to this plane, moon also comes, then there is a chance of solar eclipse. That means on a new moon day, while the moon is close to the nodal points, there is a chance of solar eclipse to happen.